Welcome everybody to our CITL webinar, Emerging Trends in Special Education Technology, a doctoral symposium highlighting the amazing work of doc students in special education with an emphasis on technology. CITL is the Center for Innovation, Design, and Digital Learning, and we focus on increasing faculty capacities to use technology in teacher preparation, early intervention, related service preparation, and leadership personnel preparation. And today we're looking at how we can focus on that leadership personnel preparation. So what are we doing to support doc students, and what's the research in that area that we're doing that's new and emerging, which is very exciting. Did I skip one? Yeah, okay. So today, like I said, we're highlighting the innovative work of doc students in the area of technology and how it's going to impact teacher and related service provider preparation, because at CITL, that's where our focus is, at the preparation area. I am Samantha Goldman. I am a third-year doc student at KU, and I am a graduate research assistant on CITL.
And I'm Taehyun Kim, and also the Teddy, and I'm first-year doc student at University of Kansas, and I'm also the GRA at CITL.
Hi, my name is Yeren Singh, also first-year doc student at KU and GRA at CITL.
And we are your moderators today. And so let's get into.
So for this webinar, we invited doctoral students across the United States to share the amazing work they're doing. So, next slide, please. Today, we have Kenneth Holman from University of Central Florida, AJ Nats from University of Wisconsin-Madison, Crystal Mary from University of Arkansas, Daniel A. Waterfield from University of Virginia, Ty Williams from University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Each panelist will have 10 minutes to present, and our first panelist is
Danielle.
Yeah, Danielle, do you want to take over, Danielle?
Sure, I can take over, no problem.
Why aren't you switching? Hold on, technical glitches. Come on.
You all can also
There
do
we
the
go.
slides. There we go, perfect. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here today. Again, I'm Danielle Waterfield from the University of Virginia, a second-year doctoral student in the special education PhD program there. And I'm really excited to share the current study that I'm working on with you all today. So you all can go to the next slide. Thank you. So I'm currently doing a convergent mixed method study on special education teachers using OpenAI's ChatGPT 3.5 to write IEP goals. And basically, there were two issues that were addressed in this study. First, we looked at IEP goal quality and also special education teacher workload perspectives within this. The literature says that we know that IEP goals are not consistently great. They're pretty questioned in terms of their specificity and measurability, as well as overall relevance to student needs. We also know that special education teachers have a less manageable workload than their gen ed peers a lot of the time, especially with compliance-related tasks like IEPs. And this can also then lead to higher attrition rates for special education teachers. So the importance of this study is centered around all of that, right? Looking at a potential to increase the quality of IEP goals for students, but also trying to make those workloads more manageable and hopefully impacting those attrition rates for SPED teachers as well. Next slide. So the overall impact on this for that is giving more inclusive and equitable education experiences for students with disabilities, while also trying to retain special education teachers. In the study, we had 56 experienced current and former special education teachers from around the United States participate. They wrote a IEP goal from a scenario we provided for them just by themselves. Then we gave them very specific directions on how to utilize ChatGPT to write an IEP goal from a different scenario. And they rated both goals on the revised IEP IFSP goals and objectives instrument, which was developed in previous work from Notari and other scholars. Interestingly, from these results and our preliminary results so far, because we're still breaking things down, teachers rated their goals very similarly. 31 of the ChatGPT goals they generated, they all gave a 6, and 27 of the teacher-created goals were also rated a 6. So it was interesting to see that they had comparable quality in terms of their ratings, according to the teachers' opinions. However, when we ran these through our research team, there was divergent ratings with that. Our researchers team usually ended up rating them a little bit lower, so we're still kind of fleshing out with the quality of that as well. 17 of these teachers participated in semi-structured interviews. They also said that the majority of them were impressed with ChatGPT in terms of being able to write a high quality IEP goal in their perspective, and actually wanted to use ChatGPT for other tasks like writing present levels of performance or modifying materials in IEPs. You can go to the next slide. So what does this mean for teacher prep programs? Well, honestly, a lot of those special education teachers we interviewed said they usually did not get much training, if at all, on writing IEPs in their prep programs. So some recommendations that we have preliminarily are to ensure that IEP training is part of teacher prep programs, but also to consider how prep programs can incorporate specific instruction on using AI platforms for these teachers, like ChatGPT or other similar platforms, so that they can kind of facilitate not only the IEP creation process, but also try to get more of those workload tasks for teachers once they enter the field. And I think I have one more slide. So for this, we're still looking into potential implications, but some things we were considering is IEP software companies or websites might want to incorporate AI features into their programs, such as helping teachers write those present levels of performance by inputting assessment data. And also there's opportunities for training and development, not only in prep programs, but within professional development around AI usage for special education teacher practice. So for future research, we're exploring this adoption and usage of AI by special education teachers for these workload tasks, but also trying to consider, like, is the quality of the products that teachers create using AI actually better than what they were doing by themselves before? So even though it's curtailing maybe some of that time that they're taking to do things, is the quality better, and ultimately the impacts and effects for students with disabilities? And I think that's it. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Danielle. Definitely some crossover with her, so a perfect segue into my research. But my name is AJ Natz, and I'm a second-year PhD student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Wanted to share, I'm really coming to this with a special education teacher perspective. I'm very much a teacher at heart, and so most of what I do is grounded in teaching students with disabilities. And so my research revolves around special education teachers' adoption and integration of innovative technologies. Having grown up in this bright, shiny, new, I want everything new generation, I'm very much drawn to these innovative technologies and how special education teachers are using them, why they are using them. And so a brief overview of what the literature says. In year one of the doc program, spending a lot of time doing a literature review to examine this really phenomena of why special education teachers are adopting and using these technologies in it. And three key themes emerged. And I think the first thing to note is that these three key themes are not at all mutually exclusive and very much impact one another. And so how much opportunities to practice does special education teachers have with these innovative technologies? Not only opportunities to practice, but opportunities to practice that are hands-on, that are realistic, collaborative, and also this theme of personal dispositions about technology. So just the teacher overall belief and or confidence using the technology, whether it be in personal life or in teaching. And then also some pedagogical strategies. How does a teacher teach? Does technology fit into that? And so again, all of these really building on one another. A teacher's dispositions about technology is going to impact how they engage in opportunities to practice, or if they do. And moving on to what I look to address with research is really this lack of training opportunities from personal experience in my own teacher preparation program and or opportunities to engage in my own professional development around technology has been fairly limited. And also this lack of research in this space. Having innovative technologies is very new to us in the educational field, but is becoming very pervasive. We're using it a lot. And so just to really build the research base and data in this space. And really tying it back to my own personal experience as a special education teacher, really this idea of burnout, but also recognizing a comment Danielle made that does this technology support students? Is it effective? And so kind of balancing the both of those questions while researching. And more focused research currently is revolving around artificial intelligence. Again, it's rapidly advancing and provides me someone interested in teachers adopting technologies provides a great opportunity to research exactly that. It's an innovative technology that teachers are currently adopting probably as we speak. And so taking a chance there to examine why they're picking it up and is it effective? And looking forward to future studies, of course, bringing this down to the student level. As Danielle mentioned, do these innovative technologies actually work and or improve supporting students with disabilities? Okay, next slide. And current research is focused on a mixed methods study. It's planning to be an explanatory, sequential, quantitative, and then qualitative research study, which means I'm starting with a survey. I'm going to use the analysis and data from that survey to then inform a more in-depth focus on interviews with special education teachers. On the right side of the screen, I have some research questions, both for the survey and also for the interviews. As I'm finding as a doctoral student, these change based on the week, based on the day, based on the hour, and or who you talk to. And so I'm always happy to receive feedback in improving these research questions, but really for the survey, looking at what factors affect the adoption of artificial intelligence among special education teachers. Why are they using it? For example, is a teacher who does not have a lot of confidence writing IEPs seek out some of these tools to support them, just as one example. Also looking at the key demographic information, is there anything that correlates with the adoption of these tools, whether it be teaching experience, location, level of education / training? And then further ahead in the interview process, just to get those perspective and experiences of the special education teachers themselves. That is currently planning to be the bigger portion of this mixed methods to really dive into that why. Why are special education teachers using this? And hopefully to get at, is it working and do you see some benefits or are there limitations that arise? And some implications on teacher preparation program. As a doc student, as I mentioned, teaching is very much who I am and what I would hope to be. And so first and foremost, bringing this to inform any teacher prep program that I have a chance to work in and or with in academia. And so that is for sure, first and foremost, is to train teachers not only how to use these tools, but how to embrace new skills, whether it's resiliency, creativity, adaptability, some of these characteristics that we don't always think about when we think about teacher preparation. And so kind of expanding what it means to train a special education teacher, not just to use the current tools, because as we know, the technologies we use now are not necessarily the technologies of tomorrow. And so not just focusing on one specific technology, but expanding that. Also highlighting, hope to be able to train faculty as well. I think a key finding that sticks out to me from conducting a literature review is teachers with more experience often have less confidence in using technology. And so how does that play out in which Faculty around the country often have the most experience in our training teachers. So are they also fully prepared to use these innovative technologies in teacher preparation? And also really this underlying hope to develop positive dispositions about technology and about innovative technology, especially with some of this AI and the news and the media don't always have a positive outlook. However, if we can develop positive dispositions, hope to that also improves student outcomes in how we engage students in learning. And last slide is the next one, I believe. And gonna focus it down into the student level. And so first, I get really excited when thinking about the increased accessibility for students with complex support needs and or increased accessibility for all students with disabilities when it comes to some of these innovative technologies, particularly AI and how it impacts some of this assistive technology that we use just to increase access. Also, just the opportunity to individualize and personalize learning. When you think about special education and you think about IEPs, these individualized education programs and plans, it has the word individualized in there. And so these tools are have underlying foundations to individualize and to get to know learners. And so that presents us a great opportunity to support students using some of these innovative technologies. And really want to finish off just hoping that the goal is to empower students to be independent learners and to build that agency and self-determination. And so not to rely on these tools to do it for us, but to use it as a supplemental tool, as something that's going to help alongside the rest of development in education. So appreciate you all taking some time to listen today. And I believe I'm passing it on to Crystal, if that sounds right.
That's right, and it's perfect because I'm going to try to talk about all things accessibility. So perfect segue as well. My name is Crystal Mary. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Arkansas, ready to graduate. I'm working in special education curriculum instruction with some emphasis in transition and user research and user interface design. So particularly, I'm a National Board Certified Teacher, and some of the work I'm going to talk about today is some work that I did through the Center for Inclusive Technology Education at CAST and also at the Department of Education as the intern for OSEP. So you'll notice some of the contents of this presentation I just like to disclose isn't supported by them, but a part of some of the projects I worked on. But as of right now, I am deep diving into my dissertation, which is on special education transition programming structures in virtual schools. So really diving into the taxonomy and looking at different virtual schools in different regions and how they're implementing transition services in the virtual school components. I really look at district conversion virtual schools. These are ones that are publicly funded under IDEA. And so that's kind of where I look at. So those policies and procedures, including accessibility, AT, digital literacy, all of those things that fall under program structures. But if you want to learn more about the taxonomy, I did include a link there for you in the slides, and you can also click on the image as well. Next. So just to give a little background on some of where my work has stemmed from, the main two areas in which a lot of my work 2-3 years ago started is through not only sites through the virtual learning project, which I included there, and the virtual learning considerations for students with disabilities, but also the Equity Matters report from about 2015, 2016. They did a multi-year report on all the different states and how they are pretty much addressing students with disabilities in the online setting. So you can also click on that image and view that report. But those are probably the two reports that really steamrolled a lot of my work. Yes, and it is authored by two of our CITL people at CITL. It just coincidentally happens to be like one of my works and something that I refer to often. So if you're tuning in from a different state and you want to see how your state is within the report, I recommend you check it out. So as far as student impacts go, there is kind of 3 different buckets or areas I kind of focus in. The first being, of course, transition programming, including remote and work-based learning opportunities and computer science areas for students with disabilities. We did see a 26% increase, according to, I think, the Labor Department in disability employment during COVID. And so really building off of that momentum from COVID and integrating that into our secondary education systems to try to improve work-based learning opportunities in remote settings. And then also, of course, for instruction, teaching teachers like how to engage students online, how to create accessible content, improve student communications, and of course, my dissertation focus, which is systems. So focusing on those special education systems, including how EdTech, IT, and AT systems are working together to make sure that policies and procedures are in place, including procurement of technology for students in online and virtual schools. And this includes our kids in blended settings as well. So those who might be half a day in person or half a day online. All right. So as far as teacher preparation goes, a couple of the things, I currently teach pre-service special education teachers and inclusive technology. And some of the things we talk about are in developing accessible materials, making sure your presentations and things are accessible. Also making sure if you are using AI, how can you use AI to improve accessibility, especially those with students with disabilities. Also, assistive technology training. Sometimes we think about assistive technology for our extensive support needs students, but it's also very supportive for our high incidence disability students. And of course, instruction. But of course, the one thing that I really want to kind of steamroll in the next couple of years is improving the access to virtual field experiences. So that's actually getting pre-service teachers experiences in virtual teaching learning environments. Right now, only 4% roughly of universities offer that. And so trying to improve the access so we can improve those online instruction strategies. All right, next. And so for implications for future, hopefully, of course, as you know, the new National Education Technology Plan is out. And a big portion of that is accessible materials and accessibility. It was a great piece of work done in conjunction with the Office of Special Education Programs and Office of Educational Tech, and with some of the people from CITL as well. And so also looking at pre and post-COVID data in virtual and online school students, we are currently seeing a 9% annual increase in the number of students every single year online. And that was pre-COVID. And so on top of that, student state rates as far as special education student enrollment goes is anywhere between 6% to 25% of their student populations in online schools or virtual schools being in special education. So looking at that data as well. And of course, transition skills, since that's one of my areas of focus, and AI and accessibility, especially ethics, and how to support accessibility, but doing that ethically in the future. All right, and the last slide. So current and continued works, my work at OSEP just got finished up in the fall. And if you go to the Ideas That Work website and go to resources for grantees, and I did put a link in the presentation as well. There is a new resource that they have available to you. It's called an introductory guide and resources for creating accessible documents and presentations. And then also my continued work with user research and user interface design, explicitly for startup ed tech companies, and trying to be proactive and not reactive in providing accessible content for people with disabilities in the schools. And so trying to make them aware of and doing some user research in that area. But it's all tied back to, the student teacher education, making sure all the systems and things are in place before it hits the schools. And that's it. So on, Kenneth, you're up.
Crystal, thank you so much. My name is Kenneth Holman. I am a PhD candidate at the University of Central Florida. My area of research and study is mathematical learning disabilities, specifically developmental dyscalculia. I'm focused on finding screeners and interventions for folks with developmental dyscalculia, but I'm also focused on artificial intelligence implementation of interventions in use in math classrooms as well. So my dissertation is focused on enhancing fraction understanding in 4th to 5th graders through AI-powered personalized learning, and that's a comparative study. So some of the issues addressed with this dissertation are going to be difficulty in understanding fractions among 4th to 5th graders. And also we want to lower the gap between personalized learning for students with mathematical learning challenges. Now, what we did for this study, instead of defining mathematical learning disabilities, is I chose mathematical learning challenges because I really wanted to broaden the scope. Not everybody that has a mathematical learning disability has been diagnosed, but also I wanted to open it up to students that might not otherwise get the intervention, allowing for all students to have access to the intervention that needed it, that were having difficulties in mathematics. Artificial intelligence in education offers personalized learning experiences crucial for complex concepts like fractions. So literature has shown that we are able to implement artificial intelligence in mathematics education to help students with understanding of fractions. One of the biggest struggles that students have is with fractions. 42% of 4th graders were proficient in mathematics, and that's as of the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is a national standardized test that is given all over the country. So only 42% of 4th graders were proficient in mathematics, and 36% of students with disabilities were proficient in mathematics in the 4th grade as well. So the reason this study is important is because it enhances educational equity by providing tailored learning experiences. And I'll explain a little bit more about what MathBot does momentarily, but it definitely personalizes the experience for students down to the most base level, and you'll see that in a second. Also addresses the COVID-19 pandemic's exacerbation of learning gaps in mathematics. COVID-19 was a hit for all of education, but especially in mathematics. It was the first time we saw declines in mathematics since 2019, I believe, in the scores lowering overall assessment progress. So if we can go to the next slide. So my area of focus, and being that I'm focused on impacts of students with disabilities, and I am getting my degree in exceptional student education, my doctorate, I really wanted to focus on how AI could help those with disabilities. So one of the things I was trying to figure out before I started my dissertation was, how can I meet the learns of diverse students? What can I do to personalize learning and engage students, you know, of all different kinds of backgrounds, of all different areas and all different levels? And then researchers, as I was doing more research into this, I found that AI can adapt individual learning styles crucial for students with disabilities. So the goal was, well, how can we individualize the student's learning? So the plan research focus was evaluating something we had to create, MathBot, impact on students' mathematical learning challenges in understanding fractions and assessing changes in situational interest in mathematics. So this study is a comparative study. So what we're doing is we gave a pre-assessment for fractions understanding and a pre-situational interest survey for fractions understanding in a comparison of business as usual and the MathBot intervention. And if you look at the MathBot intervention, you can see that it introduces itself, and then you put your name and your interest. So I put Kenneth, I like Super Mario Brothers and camping. And what the MathBot actually does is it brings it down to that student level of interest and that student level of engagement. And the examples and everything aligned with MathBot are incorporating those in all the problems. So the students are able to go at their own pace. They're able to scaffold it. If they don't understand it, they can go, I don't understand this. As you can see, I put it at the bottom here. I don't understand. Can you help me? The MathBot will break it down for it. So what we did is we created a 5-day lesson plan, comparison of fractions. And we had a general education math specialist and a special education math specialist vet the lesson plans. And we gave 5 days of general lesson plans, regular, day 1 through day 5 in the regular education setting. Those were provided to the teacher, and also the MathBot. So we just ran the study. I got the results back. I haven't had time to analyze those as of yet, But the MathBot were hopeful, and based on the student interactions that we were seeing, that the students were excited with it. There was one student that was going through the MathBot using it and changed the example on the fly. She says, I want to talk about curry now. So it changed the example to curry immediately from her talking about camping prior to that. If we can go on to the next slide. So math and technology and preparation programs. So current integration technologies, training programs incorporating AI tools like MathBot provide real-time feedback and adaptive learning strategies. So one of the hopes with MathBot was that the students were getting immediate feedback. This was meant to help teachers. So in the ideal conditions, you have 20 students in a classroom, every student's on the MathBot using it, and then teachers are able to walk around the room and help students individually. And since the students are moving at their own pace, they're able to interact with the teacher on a need basis, on a need to know basis. So it really was able to help with real-time feedback to students and immediate feedback. We also were talking about using virtual environments for simulating classroom scenarios, enhancing teacher readiness for diverse learning needs. So what the MathBot's able to do is able to handle all the different types of students that come into. One of the things we took into consideration was the bias that AI does inherently have in it. So we made sure to train the model to make sure that the biases were as limited as possible and it treated all the students on an equal footing. So some of the planned research focuses developing workshops and training modules for teachers and service providers on using AI tools to support students with disabilities. One of the biggest some of the feedback I'm receiving from teachers is the inherent concern of AI in general. So I feel like this kind of tool would allow the teachers to see that it's not inherently dangerous and that they are able to use it to help their students. We're also going to investigate the impact of AI integrated training on teacher efficacy and student outcomes in special education settings. So we really want to see if this tool was more beneficial for students with disabilities or not. So also training teachers with it as well. If we could go to the next slide. So some of the implications of the research for preparing educators for technology use. We're going to develop and comprehensive training on AI and adaptive learning technologies. I really want the teachers to see that this is a tool that helps them with their instruction, supplements their instruction. We're not trying to supplant, we're just trying to supplement it. Integration of technology training into teacher education curriculum with a focus on practical applications in special education. So we want to see that it can be used in a general education classroom as well as special education. And then implications for future research, some examination of long-term impacts on technology integration on student learning outcomes in special education. So we want to see if that's long-term. The goal is to continue this from comparison of fractions to all of fractions, and then all of fourth grade mathematics, and then all of fifth grade, customizing and personalizing the learning. We also want to investigate the scalability of AI-powered tools across different educational settings and student populations. So that expanding it from math to science to different areas of education. Some future research questions that we've come up. How does ongoing technology training for educators affect the implementation and effectiveness of AI tools in the classroom? What are barriers to technology adoption among special education teachers and how they can be addressed? AJ spoke on that a little bit earlier. And then how can AI-powered education tools be optimized for students with diverse learning challenges beyond mathematics? So we're really trying to expand it, not just in math and fractions, but to all of math, all of different areas, STEM-based areas. We think it will be extremely beneficial for that. Thank you very much. We're going to pass it on to Ty.
All right, thanks so much, Kenneth. My name is Ty Williams, and I'm a second-year doctoral student at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And like Crystal, I am also a national board certified teacher. And just like AJ, I am not so far out of the classroom that I do not still think like a teacher. I absolutely still think like a teacher. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm not going to speak directly to one study. I'm going to speak to my line of research, and my specialty area is curriculum and instruction for students with extensive support needs. And we define that as students with intellectual disability, autism, and developmental disabilities who take the alternate assessment. And so really what we want to focus on is that everybody gets to write. And so I guess one of the things I want to start with is I want you guys to just kind of reflect on your own writing and think about over the past week, have you sent an email? Have you sent a text? Have you sent a message on social media? And if you have, I want you to stop and think how lucky you are that some teacher thought that you had the ability to learn to write. And unfortunately, historically, for students with extensive support needs, this has not been the case. And one of the reasons it's not been the case is because a lot of teachers just didn't know how to teach writing to students with extensive support needs. Not only that, there was a belief at one time that students weren't capable, that students with extensive support needs weren't capable of learning to write. And so one of the things that has really opened up access for writing to students with extensive support needs is technology-assisted instruction. And so right here, I'm going to show you, you'll get to actually see this in youth, is an app called Clicker Writer. But I don't want to get stuck on the app because I will show you another app that we have used later on in my presentation. All right, so we'll move to the next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I guess this is the next one. Was there one before this or was this the next one? All right, so I guess I just want to do like a really quick look in the past on what's been done as far as writing for students with extensive support needs in the past. And Dr. Robert Pennington is a leader in the area of writing for this population. And one of the things that's come out of the past research is that there is an intervention package that has proven extremely effective in teaching writing to this population. And typically what has been included in that intervention package is response prompting, specifically system of least prompts, simultaneous prompting, but most often it has been constant time delay. And then that has been paired with sentence frames. And sentence frames, you can look over to the side to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like if you're not used to working with early writers. But a sentence frame is a structured a sentence structure that a student can plug words into that adds predictability to writing. And so they're able to predict what that sentence frame would be, and then they can use it across different contexts. And so those three components have been pretty consistent across past research and even in research that's going on now. All right, next slide. So why is writing even important? Well, this was really eye-opening to me when I learned that next to oral communication, writing is likely the second most understood response mode. So if you think about how you communicate with people, how often writing is involved in your communication. But not only that, writing is important because we use it for daily living and organization. It is extremely important for social engagement and connection and that sense of belonging. We use writing for self-expression and creativity, and then we also use it to access reinforcement. So I was just talking, actually was just teaching writing in an undergrad class today, and so in talking to one of my students, I said, how do you use writing? And she said, I text my friends so that we can make plans for the weekend. So in that, she's able to access reinforcement. But not only that, it allows our students and ourselves as well to engage in self-determination, self-advocacy, and then self-regulation. And I said this morning, you know, I hope nobody ever looks at my journals. If I know I'm dying, I probably should burn them because I end up journaling when I'm having a hard time. And so if you were to look back at my journals after I'm gone, you think I had a terrible life, but I don't. I really use it as a form of self-regulation. All right, next slide, please. And so what I really want to do is not just talk about writing, but for you to actually see what it looks like. And so right now we are currently conducting our 4th study in writing using this form of technology. We are starting our 5th study next week. And so within just my own practice, again, we're pretty far into using these forms of technology. And while I'm going to focus on technology for this, remember that there are other components like the response prompting and the sentence frames. Now, as I show you this video, it's like 26 seconds or something like that. I really want you to pay attention to the end of it to see this little girl's response to writing. And so this is a student that's a non-writer and a non-reader up until we started this study. And so this is baseline, okay? So right now I'm just going to tell her to write and look at her response at the end.
And Clifford is chasing the butterfly. All right. Let's stop right there. And I want you to write about what you see. Write about what you see. And nice writing today, my friend.
All right, so look at that right there. Look at that view of her. So you can see that for her, writing was not really an enjoyable activity. There wasn't a lot of motivation for it. But then we ended up moving into intervention. If you want to move to the next video, please. And so here you're going to be able to see this is the beginning of intervention. So you are going to see some error correction when we were using a constant time delay. All right, go ahead with the video, please.
Let me help you with that one.
Again,
Oh,
looking at the
sorry.
end of her response.
I read, look here, about. I get it to you. About. I read about. Hold on.
So she made an
read
error right there.
about
I'm correcting her.
a Look at that! Good job, girl! You wrote.
So quite a different response once she had access to writing. Even though she was making errors and we were correcting it, you can see quite a different response. Now we're going to move into what I consider a social validity measure, and I want you to see her next response to writing. This is as she was further along in intervention and was beginning to use technology to acquire those writing skills.
Horse. You found horse. Yeah. Oh my goodness, girl. Yeah. High five on your work this afternoon. Right there.
So she just identified vocabulary for writing.
Right. So let's get started. Let me write down how you did this morning.
Can you write about what you see?
You want to write about what you see?
Yeah.
We are going to write about.
All right,
what
so we can
see.
stop right there. So you can see that in the first video, she was hating writing. Let's just go ahead and call it like it was, the most boring activity of the day. But by the end, because she had access to writing through technology and because she was experiencing success, she's now actually requesting to write. All right, we'll move to the next one. So with these two videos, you can really see the impact of that technology, that accessing her ability to access writing, how it impacted her. And that is one of the biggest things that I feel about the need for the integration of technology in writing, because in our digital age, as you can see, it's a huge part of not only how we express ourselves, but it's a huge part of our connection with others and our sense of belonging. All right, next slide, please. So how does this look for teacher preparation? One of the things is that we really need to disseminate this information, because a lot of teacher education programs don't actually teach things like sentence writing for students with extensive support needs. While the research has occurred, it hasn't actually made it out into practice yet. So that's one of the things that's really important. Is I was just teaching this morning again in an undergrad class. So that dissemination and it being embedded in our teacher education programs and teachers' practice. Next one, please. And so where are we going to go with this? Well, right now we are working on taking it out of in the past, it's been taught one-on-one. So we're currently getting ready to conduct a study where we're moving writing into small group instruction, because teachers have said, I need it in small group. I can't teach one-on-one. My dissertation is going to be where we're taking it out of ELA, which is where it has typically occurred, or in isolated areas, into all content areas. And then we also want to use technology. And here's an example of how we can do that, to teach students to engage in more complex writing skills. All right, and then I think the next one is the last slide. And so what do we need to do? Is one of the things we need to do is to make this technology more affordable and accessible. So for those of you who are watching, I want to let you know about an app that is out that's free. It's called GoTalk Lite, and it is an app that you can use for writing, and you can get for free 5 pages on the GoTalk app, and you can find that on the Attainment website. I get no kickbacks from that or anything. I just want to let teachers know that there is an app out there, a form of technology that allows your students to access writing, and it will cost you $0. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. We have a couple minutes before we wrap up for questions. If you have a question for the presenters, either overall or individually, we have some time. You can definitely stick the question in the chat. Mackenzie, are they able to unmute?
Nope, just in the chat, please.
Perfect. So as questions come in, if there are any, give it a minute for people to type. I have a question while people type. Something we were talking about earlier in a meeting and last night in class is this idea that AI is, oh, good question, Dr. Basham. AI is basically everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere in research. And I know some of you talked about doing research specifically with AI and its implications. to your research. Those of you that didn't, which I believe was Crystal and Ty, have you guys thought about that at all? I know, Crystal, you touched on it a little bit, but have you thought about AI implications into your research?
I can say that I haven't currently because we're still trying to figure out how to teach writing, but I absolutely see that with our population that AI down the road could be extremely beneficial for our students in expanding their ability to write and the types of writing and the content of their writing.
And I think for me, I think sometimes we forget we've been using AI for a very long time. If you have Grammarly, if you have an Alexa, oh, I better not say Alexa.
Don't say the word.
If you have something, we've been using these things, and I think that's one thing I like about particularly the Center for Inclusive Technology Systems is because it's not just about using AI for students with disabilities, but creating AI for anyone and everyone for accessibility, no matter whether you have a disability or not. We all use closed captions most of the time on our TVs and YouTubes. So now it's about teaching teachers how to do that, right? It's about how to do that for the future. How can they make sure that, if they have a kid who does really need it, that they can do that. But for me, I saw a question about what we're going to do after graduation. Absolutely. I do have a job. I'm not announcing it yet, but I do have a job upcoming in the fall. So that will be my plan, but working on finishing out dissertation right now and hopping on finishing up some projects, of course, at some national centers, but that's about it.
Anyone else want to speak to Dr. Basham's conversation about, or Dr. Basham's question, sorry, about future plans? I know Crystal is the only, no, Kenneth, you're getting close.
Yes, I'm currently trying to find employment. Looking for assistant professorship somewhere in special education, ideally research intensive, but at this point, I need to get into a job of some sort. So I'm doing my best, and it's almost as much work as the dissertation trying to find a job. So I'm tired.
Great. We had another question about sharing resources. I did put in the chat that CITL has a lot of resources both on our website and in our community, and all of the resources that you all talked about are linked within as well. Dr. Vasquez asked a question, what the current barriers to leveraging AI in special education are that you're encountering as a researcher or a teacher. So if any of you want to speak to that, or if any of you that are here want to drop your answers in the chat, I'll copy and paste that so it's further down.
I would say one of the barriers is cost. So my chat bot, for instance, for the week study costs probably $400 or $500 just to run it for 20 students for the week of 4 or 5 math classes. So that's prohibitive based on what we are finding. Now that's using a third-party service. So if we were able to build something out, at UCF or at another school, then that would lower the cost. But it's still cost prohibitive because I cannot see a school district paying $400, $500 a week for students to use a chat bot. It's just not feasible at this point.
And if you're like, I use ChatGPT for free, what are you talking about? Look forward. There's a new CITL blog coming out this week that explains the free versus when you're starting to pay for things.
Right. Absolutely.
So if there's a question about that, Kenneth, there was a question about if your math bot is publicly available.
So it's not publicly available as of right now because of the token usage and the cost. I'm limiting what we're doing with it as of right now. The goal is eventually to release it out, but as of right now, it's just not feasible for me to do that. Limited funding, aside, and cost and whatnot. Plus, I'm not comfortable releasing it out to the public yet. I want to get it, where I think it's much better than it is right now. It's still good, but not where it's at. Not yet.
Absolutely. Danielle, I think the next question is for you. What tool did you use to score the IEPs?
Yeah, so this is a tool that was developed by a researcher with the last name of Notary. It actually was developed in 1988, so it's been around for a while, and has been used in other research just looking at IEP goal quality. I'll put the name of it in the chat, but it's known as the ARGORI, is like the abbreviation for it. And basically it's a dichotomous scale of indicators of whether or not the IEP goal has something specific. So that's kind of what we ask teachers to rate each of the goals on that they created by themselves, as also the ones that they created using ChatGPT. And as we saw, the scalability was very similar based on the teachers' opinions, which was super interesting. But yeah, it's an established scale. And hopefully essay grader, I'm not familiar with that AI. There's so many out there, but that sounds very interesting too to look into.
If you have more conversations, we'll get to that in a second. It's a very great place for you to put your questions and get answers. So on that line, we are looking to host another one of these. So if you know someone that is interested in presenting on their research, that's a doc student in special education and innovative technology, we would love to highlight them. So please send them my email so that we can get them started with the process. I learned a lot. I hope you all learned a lot. I really enjoyed hearing from everyone and making some connections for the future. And then, like we talked about, we have both the CITL community and the CITL website. So join the community if you're not already there. It's a great place to talk about up and coming research, share your research, ask questions about everything dealing with innovation, technology, AI, and special education, teacher preparation, related services, all the things. It's a really, really great place to hang out and have a virtual conversation. The CITL website also, like I said, we have blogs posting all the time. Today's blog or this week's blog, one of them is going to focus on tokens and cost and all the things about AI that you might be hearing about that you might not understand or might need further explanation for. I know that I really enjoyed working with our person that we interviewed this week. And come see us at CEC. I'm going to run through some really exciting things happening at CEC. A lot of our panelists are going to be there and presenting, so you have the link to this. Be sure to mark in your little app that you want to hit their presentations because they're going to be great. CITL has a lot happening. I have half of you covering my screen. CITL has a lot happening. There are several sessions that CITL is doing focusing on AI and teacher preparation. Additionally, in the tech playground, we have immersive experiences. We have 10-minute conversations, presentations on how to implement technology in your classroom tomorrow. They're very practice-based. And then we also are going to have Q&A sessions at an Ask the AI Expert booth, in addition to these amazing sessions that are planned that are more presentation style. Should be really exciting, all the things about AI. And then, as I said, you can go through and see all of the presentations highlighting the awesome work of our panelists and also our moderators, because like I said, we are also special education doc students. I want to thank everyone for joining us. There will be a post in the community, and I would love to hear your takeaways and what you learned and what future topics you want to see from all of CITL and all of our doc students. So thank you so much again, and have a great rest of your day.